Today we're going to review psoas, or hip flexor strengthening. Now if your practitioners advise you that you need to strengthen the psoas or hip flexor muscle, here are some ways that we can do that. Now first we're going to go with the most basic version where we aren't using any sort of resistance at all. This is grade 1, okay? So first off we're going to start going by doing a standing march. Slowly bringing that knee up as we try to keep the core and the rest of the spine straight. No cheating like so. No cheating, pulling back. Keep everything nice and engaged. As you pull up to about parallel, hold for a couple seconds, bring it back down, nice and controlled. Same kind of tempo and rhythm up as you do down. Make sure you do both sides to assess for which one needs to get the more strengthening work done. Now, after that point, we can also be going to the next level, which is going to be supine, or laying on your back, as gravity is going to affect us slightly differently. Now, this can be done off your bed, your couch, any sort of a table you might have. We're going to start both legs up, dropping one down. And then still a bicycle motion as we're focusing on strengthening. Again, making sure that our lower back is not arching, but instead staying nice and tucked, spine is straight, just like when we were standing. And you're going to feel this one slightly different than how we were when we were standing. Another version is going to be through a plank, either a elbow extended plank when you're driving the knees up to your chest, keeping the spine straight, holding for a couple seconds, bringing it back down, or dropping down onto your elbow for the same thing. Now, when you feel like you're ready to get to the next level because those have become too easy, perhaps you're able to do 10 of those reps and still feel like you have a lot left in the tank, then we can start to utilize resistance bands. If you like to utilize a mini loop, you could use a TheraBand. You could also utilize any sort of weight, a dumbbell. But let's start with a mini band, something nice and light to begin. We're going to put that around both feet and then recreate what we've already done. So for the standing march, get a nice stable base of support, a little bit of a bend in the knee. I'm going to be strengthening through my left hip flexor, hold for a couple of seconds, bringing down, again, nice and controlled. Constantly need to remind you to ensure that you engage the core so we don't cheat through the spine. Fixing one problem, but creating another. Now, once you feel confident with that one, we can be dropping down onto your back. Again, this could be off of a table, couch, or bed. But we're going to focus on the eccentric side of this. So this is more coming down. So for my left side, eccentric strengthening, I'm going to have my right foot still on the ground. Bring my left one up, and the focus is slowly down. The band is trying to pull me downwards, and I'm slowly resisting it, taking it down slow at my own control. Then bring it back up and slow down. If we're focusing more on the concentric side, I can lift my legs up, slightly down for my bottom leg, but not on the ground. Raising my left knee towards my chest, bringing that down. Again, maintaining the core, not extending through the lower back, focusing most specifically through the hip flexor, primarily the psoas muscle. Now you can do the same thing on the ground in our plank position if you're feeling ready for that, but make sure that you have a tight core, your shoulders are supported, and you can plank very well before you get into that. All right, so now that we're done the hip strengthening side, another thing we want to talk about is your hip mobility. Now in order to get this done, we're going to go through a hip hurdle. I'm going to focus on my left hip mobility. So we're going to make sure that my right leg is nice and stable, slight bend in the knee, glute engaged, core engaged, back upright. I'm going to slowly lift that hip up on the left side. The knee comes up, just like the march we previously did for the strengthening. Bring it out as wide as I can. Once I max out, bring it down to the ground. Once down, bring it back up, directly up, and back to your starting position, down. Now the purpose here is to go through your hips, not your lower back. So you should be feeling that through the entirety of both the front of the hip, around that psoas muscle we just worked on, as well as the back side and the lateral side of the hip. Now to exaggerate the cheat that people will sometimes do through the lower back, if we feel limited, we want to get more motion, we start to come through that. We might come through our right hip, we might come through our lower back, But ultimately, we're fixing one problem perhaps and exchanging it for a new problem, or not even resolving the issue at all because we're not going through our proper motion. So please make sure you take your time, raise up, go out, feeling that entirely through this hip, nice and control. Slower is better, and back down. All right, have fun.